I'm Simon King, and this is What's Wrong. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry the podcast is a little bit late, but I do have an excuse. I have been on the road touring again for the first time in a long, long time. I'm doing more than a couple of dates on the road. I mean, I know I've been doing kind of, 3, 4 shows in a row, but this is the first time in a while I've been doing sort of like 2 weeks. So I think we're doing like 14 shows in 12 days or something like that, 11 days. I can't remember exactly how many we're doing, but it's been fun so far. I'm traveling and with a couple of great comedians, Nash Park and Matt Baker, and I'm going to try and get them on the podcast so we can have a guest or two. Obviously, as you can understand, because I'm on the road, I can't get into the studio with the lovely and talented exacerbating. That's a good one for his adjective, Mikey Greenwood. But Mikey Greenwood is still very much involved in the podcast and hands-on, so do not worry. I have not gone back to flying solo. But I don't want to not give you guys something. I want to give you some podcasts, and we have been in the car a lot lately. So just being able to sit down here at this lovely Airbnb in Prince George, British Columbia, which is where I am in Prince George, BC, and I'll tell you a little bit about the tour, what we've been doing, and we got a few more, 2 more towns left, 3 more shows left after tonight, and it's been good. It's been a good time. It's been interesting to get back out there. And sorry, I very self-conscious about being able to look at myself the whole time. I don't like this at all. We don't normally have a monitor when we do it in studio. I can't normally see myself, so now my natural anxiety and nervousness comes through. So I can be like, "Oh my god, that's what I look like." Yep, poorly carved potato pumpkin man. That's what I look like. Like if instead at Halloween, if instead of squashes and like instead of squashes, that's what it is. I'm fucking pumpkins, idiot. Instead of pumpkins, if they just used potatoes, it would look like this. It's like I'm an Irish jack-o'-lantern. My name's Jack O'Lantern. That's my name. And I'm very much now, if you cut me open and put a candle inside me, I'm lovely. Anyway, I don't know what happened there. As you can tell, my voice is a bit wonky too because I've been traveling and I've somehow got a slightly hoarse voice. Not bad, nothing serious. That's not COVID, no bugs or germs. But I think it was me the climate that I'm traveling through. It's interesting to be on the road again too because I have not been doing this like this for a while. This is an interesting doing a lot of shows, doing traveling a lot, being hotel to Airbnb, which is where we are now, lovely Airbnb, which I prefer over hotels. I do prefer Airbnbs over hotels because it feels like you get to feel like you're a prowler just breaking into someone's house. You know what I mean? Like, what all their stuff? Look at their stuff. But I like it because usually the rooms are bigger and nicer, more comfortable, and have more of a homey feel. Hotels are great and everything, and I've stayed in some really lovely ones and some pretty rough ones. But overall, you always feel like you're away. Whereas with an Airbnb, you feel like you could be at a friend's house, which is when I used to go on the road a lot, I used to stay with the lovely Chris Gordon all the time, and that made me very happy because it was like having a home away from home, with a giant man child to hang out with. I gotta have Chris Gordon on the podcast. He's one of the most amazing people I know, and he's absolutely lovely. And I'll have him on at some point soon. We are going to get back to regular schedule programming once all this traveling is done. But as you can understand, it's kind of difficult to, we started the new podcast or came back to the old podcast and changed formats with guests and everything before I really started hitting the road a lot. And so when I'm doing these extended tours and everything, it's difficult to coordinate guests as it is. I mean, the old days of doing the podcast, I used to be able to just kind of voice record on my phone, so just tuck it into my seatbelt or whatever when I was driving, or just sit down at a hotel or something and just bang out a half hour for you. But I can't do that anymore. Also, it's nice that we have view here. Oh, and I forgot to do this. I'm Simon King, and this is What's Wrong. Did I do that? I can't remember if I did that or not. And also, if you're listening to this, you could be watching it. You could be watching it on YouTube. You could go to youtube.com/The Citizen Strange, or you could just Google Simon King comedian, or you could just on YouTube, or you could Google Big Fat Headed Simon King. Either one, doesn't matter. I'll pop up. I have good SEO, as they say, search engine optimization, search engine Optimus Prime. That's my. At least I can still make myself laugh at stupid shit. That's good, right? So I'm on the road, and it's been interesting to do some comedy again and kind of bang, and it just makes me realize how poorly prepared I am for the next hour of material. The first sort of 35 minutes of it is there. I think I've got pretty much all of it. Maybe 30 minutes. I mean, I'm doing hours right now, which is nice. So I'm doing hours. Some shows I'm doing a little bit less just because we're flipping rooms. We're doing 2 shows in a night, which is a trip for me as well to go back to doing 2 shows in a night. I haven't done that in a long time. I usually just kind of show up, do one show, get drunk, and fucking fall down. But this time we're doing 2 shows in a night in some of the venues, and it's been really kind of cool to get back to that. It makes me feel like when I was a younger comic doing clubs and stuff like that. So that's kind of been fun. And like I said, the guys I'm traveling with are lovely. So it's a really nice tour, except for the slightly Kathleen Turner impression that I'm doing by accident. Although it has increased my Paul Giamatti and has made my Paul Giamatti way better because he has that sort of hoarse voice. And that works well. He's got a very soothing voice. I'd listen to any audiobook by him. You know what I mean? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a time indeed. You know? I don't know. Maybe not. But like I said, my voice is a little bit ratchy, but we're not bad. We're doing okay. I'm drinking a lot of tea, drinking a lot of coffee. And if you're listening, you don't notice that I just drank a delicious mouthful of coffee. But I mean, you heard it, but you didn't see it. You could be watching it. And also, I'm going to get back up on the Patreon thing too. So because we haven't been able to record any podcasts, we haven't been able to record any Patreon podcasts either. So you will get 2 Patreon episodes in July as opposed to because we missed the June episode. So if you're a patreon.com/This Is Simon King subscriber, you will get an extra Patreon episode next month. And like I said, we're going to try and do a podcast with the boys I'm traveling with if we can, and do some of that. So it should be fun. But yeah, let's get back to material. It's not, it's weird how like your brain goes through these spots. Like we did this, I don't think I've talked to you since we did the Dark show, which we did in Vancouver. It was the Dark comedy show, it was really exciting. I can't remember if we did talk or not. Maybe we did talk about it, but it was really good. We did it at the end of June, and I really enjoyed doing that show because it was like dark comedy. And I apologize if I've already talked about this, but if I haven't, you're going to have to just, I don't know, fast forward. It's not like I have any reads. I'm not doing any ads, so you can just sit through this. I like how weirdly mentally abusive I am to my audience, both of you. We did the Dark Comedy Show, which was fantastic. We did it at the place called the Railway Club in Vancouver, which is it's now called the Railway Bar and Stage. But and it's a great little venue. Seats about 60 people. We absolutely completely packed it out. Had to turn people away. So if you are around, I think we're doing the next one at the end of August 28th, I believe. And it was so fun to see so many comedians that I really respect and love and respect and admire doing really interesting stuff. It was one of the few shows I've been on in the last few years, which has just been every single multi-comic show. Like when you're touring with professionals, yeah, you're used to everyone kind of hitting it out of the park. But when you're doing shows with like 6 or 7 guests at different degrees of experience, you're used to some of them maybe not doing as well on that particular night. Not that they're not funny, but they're just not getting it that nice. It doesn't tune in. And every single comic that was on that show, from the host, who's the lovely Santonic, who's been on the podcast, all the way up to myself at the end, I had a pretty good set. And everyone in between had just fantastic sets. And it was really nice to see everyone understood and held on to and honored the feeling of dark comedy, the idea behind the room. My co-producer Harris Anderson and I, from the multiple guests, the only 2-time guest on our podcast, Harris Anderson, had a fantastic set. So funny. You've got to check out his stuff. But it was just so nice to get on stage to an audience full of people who were ready for it, like really there, ready for the kind of material, the kind of comedy we're going to put out. The spirit was right in the room. Nobody was like talking to me before being like, yeah, man, you should be able to get that PC stuff. No, they all understood what it was. It's not about that. Like, I don't like when comedians talk about how I can't say whatever I want. Well, yeah, you can. You really can. You can. You just have to do it in a smart way. And it doesn't. Also, you can say anything you want. Doesn't mean it's going to work. But that's like with anything with comedy. I mean, you can have a great joke about typewriters, but you think it's hilarious and nobody fucking gets it. Well, it doesn't mean that, you can't talk about typewriters. It means you're getting a very niche crowd. But I swear to God, if you get a room full of like 60 or 70-year-old retired law clerks, secretaries, people like that, anyone who worked in an office, they're going to fucking love that shit. They're going to be like, oh, that Smith Corona material is fantastic. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Just find your audience. And I think we did. So I'm happy with that. And speaking of which, I'm playing to some of you folks are coming out. That's fantastic. I've seen some of you, and I've seen some. I've had some people coming out from TikTok. I've not actually seen that fan base come out before, and now I have, and that's been exciting on this trip. Admittedly, we're doing a very, it's all in British Columbia, this tour, so we're not really touring outside of BC, and some of them are slightly smaller communities, and I'll take you through it right now. The first night we did Hope, British Columbia, which is a small town about 2 hours east of Vancouver in the Fraser Canyon. It's quite a blue-collar town. And a lot of like working people out there, and it was good. We did it. It was a pub. It was a place called the Silver Chalice, and it was in the afternoon. Well, it was like late afternoon, early evening. So it's always difficult when you have shows like that in the summer with the light coming in and everything. But the show was good. Then we did Merritt the next night. We did 2 shows in Merritt. Those were great. Then we did a place called Summerland. Well, Merritt's on the way up as you drive towards the interior, though. So if you've ever watched that show, Highway of Death, or whatever the fuck that is about the Coca-Cola, it's one of the ones on there. It's the major one before you hit Kamloops. Then we did Summerland, which was great. It was the lightest attended show. I mean, all these shows pretty much have been sold out, which is great, with very few exceptions. Summerland was an exception. It wasn't a huge audience, but it was the first show on the tour I felt really relaxed and had fun. Sometimes when you're working new material or you're trying to find your way between hours, that extra bit can be hard. That getting across the line for 60 minutes of material can be sometimes difficult. It can make your life a little bit. It's challenging because you're maybe not getting the laughs in the places you want, or you're maybe not familiar enough. Like when an hour is done and you're ready to go, you're just so used to what comes next, what beats happen. Even if you're playing around and improvising inside of those spots, you can still find your way. And you know roughly where the beginning, middle, and end are going to be. Okay, I got to be here. Like on my last special, As Good As or Better Than, which there'll be a link at the end of this. It's on YouTube. And you can see I have a very specific sections of the material of what I'm doing. I'm building the material in a certain way. So I want this section about this section about this section about this. And I know whenever I get to a certain part of a certain section, I kind of know what's coming next and where I'm going. And right now, because I don't have that stuff memorized and I don't have all that material in my head, the first part of it is much more like that. It's flowing much more smoothly. I'm starting to play around and improvise. But because the second half of it is higher degree of difficulty to do. That's why we did the dark show, was so that I had a chance to try out most of the material that's going to be in the second half of the hour. And it worked really well. I was very, very happy with it for an audience that knew what was coming. But the problem is when you tour venues and stuff, you play places where they may not know you, where they may not know what's coming. It makes it difficult to spring that on them. You don't want to wreck the show. You're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, baby coffins. I mean, they don't want to hear that. Or maybe they do, but it's hard to take that chance. Because ultimately, my job is to do my job. I'm supposed to close the show. I'm supposed to make everyone happy. And so far it's been working. But in Summerland was the first place we played this, the Summerland Arena, like the banquet hall attached to it. We didn't play like 3,000 people. We played the Summerland Arena, and there's a little banquet hall attached to it, which was set up a bit like a theater, and it was really nice. But it wasn't a huge crowd. It was a small crowd. But for me, the first audience of the tour that felt, like, okay, I can take some chances. And we went to Kelowna, BC, which is great. Really fun place, packed out, really great, fun show. A little more quiet because of the heat. I think people were a little sedate, but it was a great audience. Really liked it. And then we did Vernon, British Columbia, which was the first show I think that kind of really kicked off. Okay, like I figured it was effortless and we were having fun. And then we did Kamloops, British Columbia. That was great too. And then I went home for a day, hang out with the kid, which was nice. I took myself home, spent a little time with the boy and the lady friend, and then back up we came, and then we did what did we do? Williams Lake yesterday. Williams Lake. Then we did Quesnel yesterday, which was a theater, which was nice. It was nice to do a theater again, even though it was in a high school, which made me feel weird. So I was like, I haven't been to a high school in a long time because I don't have any reason to go. I'm not R. Kelly. I'm not looking for women. Hey, right? Fuck R. Kelly. Hey, I know that's the least. I mean, can you imagine if he was like, oh man, it's bad enough getting sentenced to all these years in prison, but then some comedian I've never heard of said fuck me on a podcast. That's just mean. Oh well. Yeah, and then we're doing Prince George tonight, which is always great. Fans always come out here. And then we're doing Smithers tomorrow, which is a cool little mountainy town to the west. And then Terrace, which is right far west. And all these tours are put on by OK Dope. OK Dope is run by a guy named Nash Park, who's hosting these shows and opening and producing. And they're really great shows. They're really good. It's nice to see someone bringing comedy out there and really putting the effort in. So, and as I've said before on the podcast, I have nothing but time for people who actually want to put the work in. I think it's great because I think work ethic is a talent in and of its own way. Having the talent to actually work hard is a big thing. And I know so many talented comedians and so many funny people who just don't put the effort in. So it's really nice to see that. But yeah, it's been a trip torn again, like getting on the road, traveling with my little humidifier to keep my I'm so much more high maintenance traveling, touring now than I used to be. When I used to be touring when I was young, it's just get in the car and just like go. Just like grab a shower, throw things in a bag, get in a car and go. And now it's like, okay, do I have my humidifier? How many changes of clothes will I need? Just such a sensitive fellow. Been getting a little bit of homesickness too, which is par for the course with me, but it's a little bit more intense, I think, because it's the longest I've been away from the little guy since I've been on the road, and I mean Mikey Greenwood, of course. No, just kidding. But it's the longest I've been away from my son, so it's kind of weird to get used to that again. Just being away and being on the road and living like this, and yeah, it's kind of weird, eating the wrong food. God, I gotta take better care of myself. What the fuck am I doing? Like, I mean, I had a salad today though. Like, actually, tried to put a salad in my fucking face, but it's been a lot of like 7-Eleven pizza, which is not good. Mm. This is whiskey. Just kidding. I wish. If I didn't have to work tonight, it would be. But yeah, it's weird because whenever I do this podcast by myself, I do them sober. This is only the second one, but I guess what we'll start doing from now on is because I wanted to keep doing guests every episode, but I think it's better just to supplement with something because I don't want you guys to feel like I've abandoned you because I haven't. And I know this one's already a little bit late, but we'll try and get back on schedule. It's just getting used to booking guests, getting people in studio, getting people organized, and we're still kind of looking around for a different studio space, even though we did do a few at the last one, just because something a little more convenient. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of those sorted out for you. But like I said, we'll keep doing something on the road. We'll find a place to set up the camera and take a video of my giant fucking head while I while I talk to you. Yeah, it's kind of it's been neat going around seeing because of course also like because of comedy because of plague. Sorry, comedy's not been really something that a lot of people have been out to. And I was talking to a few of the venue owners, and we've been doing some breweries and stuff like that. And I've been talking to some of the brew pubs, and I've been talking to some of the owners and stuff like that. And they're saying, yeah, like we just got through, and then everyone wants to come out. And I think that's true. I mean, the numbers are indicative of that. People definitely want to come out to see shows. They want to come laugh again, which is nice. And so what I've also been trying to do too is before I do shows, because I'm trying to get my TikTok game up, because I figure like even though I believe TikTok is the end of the world, I think aliens sent us TikTok to throw us off balance. So when they show up and look for all our rye bread or whatever the fuck they want, now that we've got that big telescope pointed out there, the James Webb or whatever. That, by the way, I don't know if you've seen that picture online of for the one that NASA sent the James Webb telescope took, but it's they said some of the light in there is 13 billion years old. Like if it's powerful enough, you could actually see when I had heat in Hollywood. It's not a What's Wrong with Simon King podcast unless I shit on myself, is it? Look at the size of my teeth. Jesus. Yeah, what was I saying? I can't remember what the fuck I was saying now. Just babbling on about nothing. It's a difficult thing to talk to you, especially with how many words I say to talk. It's like being like the old podcast. But oh yeah, the owners. That's what I was saying. Sorry, you're gonna have to accept my slightly ADD brain right now. I was just chasing butterflies all over the place. But yeah, some of the owners were saying that like they're just so glad people are coming out, and I think that's true. I mean, it's to see people coming out to things, and it's so nice to see that comedy is kind of. There's a little bit of that. You don't know what it's got till it's gone. So I think people are coming out to things now and showing a little bit more love, and it's fantastic. It's nice to see people again. I just wish I could get my fucking hour right. Or at least I could work the second half of it, because the way the process is once the material is roughed in, it's like building a house. Once the frame's up, then you can start making it look nice. You can adding stuff like interior walls, but we're still at the finishing the foundation point of this hour, and I want to get the last half of it done. So I think I'm just going to keep running that material at dark shows and just start dropping in at mics and trying to figure it out. And audience be damned, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Just to try and sort of figure out a way to, because like I said, I tested those jokes out. I've tested them before. I've had some of them in my pocket for a long time and just not had the ability to do them. And so now I have the ability to do them. I think they have the skill set. It's just a matter of getting the stage time to do them or figuring out how to get them out there. So maybe what I might do is I might record some of it. Some of it's out there, but I might post some of it. But anyway, I was talking about TikTok. I know where I'm going. Don't worry. I'll get us back there. It's like Google Maps taking you around traffic jams. I was talking about TikTok. I've been really trying to invest in TikTok, so like just to try and see if I can. It seems to me of all the social media platforms, the one that's the most broad ranging. You know what I mean? Like I think there's stand up fans on there, and in case in point, we've had a few videos that have had some success, and we've gone from, sort of 3,500 followers to 12,000 or so, which I don't know what that means, but I don't know whether it's equating to people coming to things. I don't know if they're listening to this podcast. And if you are, welcome. Thanks for finding me from the TikTok and then coming here and then seeing my stupid head. It's just it's just a bunch of TikToks stuck together, and it's just me talking into a microphone in a room, which, is probably a sign of madness. Like if you did this 50 years ago, if you were just in a room with a microphone by yourself, just talking, the nurses would bring you pudding and special pills to help you sleep. And they'd be like, how are you doing in there? Oh, I'm doing a podcast. Okay. All right. He's doing a podcast. Are you talking to your grandchild? No, I'm talking to strangers and two guys in the Ukraine, right? You thought I forgot about you, but I didn't. But now it's just par for the course. It's just normal to do this shit. Well, I don't know if it's normal. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of normal people doing this shit, right? Just come home from a long day at work and you're like, you know what I got to do? I got to clean out them gutters, but I also got to do my podcast. Only comedians and people in entertainment are arrogant enough to believe that if they have nothing to offer, they should still try and offer it, which is what I'm doing. Imagine if I actually had a skill set I never told you guys about, and it's like, oh, by the way, I know a hell of a lot about carpentry, or I know a hell of a lot about this, and then all of a sudden just turn the podcast. Like if you watch the podcast, every third episode is a tutorial on doing something useful. Here's how you use a lathe. Holy shit. It was a boring podcast, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, lathe. Today's guest is lathe. Yeah. So I don't know, that second half of that hour, it's kicking my ass. And then, but I feel like I've got some dates coming up in August too, and I feel like I'm going to take some time because I'm taking a little holiday with the fam jam, and we're going to go camping for a bit. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of time, sit by a lake, drink some tequila, and try and do something I don't really often do, which is sit down with a book and actually write jokes, which I don't tend to do. But I thought I'd give it a try. Why not? Why not write jokes? It's only 22 years into a career. Why not try and put some fucking material on paper? Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you. Speaking of which, speaking of long careers, I got a chance to see the new Billy Burr special. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, Live at Red Rocks or something like that, I think. And I was impressed. It's good. It's good. It's so nice to see comedians, when they're putting stuff out, especially after a pandemic year, like that kind of thing, where not a lot of people were getting a lot of stage time, and it was kind of hard to work material. It was really nice to see. It was a really tight, very well put together special. Lots of really good stories and very funny. It's kind of weird when you put out a special. It's sort of an all eggs in one basket situation. Even for someone like myself, I can't imagine what it's like for someone with that level of fan base. Like they're really, people waiting, wait a couple years for you to put something out. And if you put something out and it's not, to your liking, or it's not to their liking, you're going to hear about it. And it was nice to see something that was, I never understood comedians who were desperate to put out an hour every year. I mean, you could do it. It's only really 5 minutes a month, but I don't understand why you'd be desperate to do that. Why not just take time, hone it? I mean, I could record what I'm doing right now, probably. I could stumble through an hour, but it won't be anything like what I want it to be. So I'll give it some time. We'll wait a little bit, release it. I'm lucky enough because of the pandemic and because of how long it took in post-production, I literally just put out a special. So, you don't have to really think about it until, maybe sort of January next year, and then start thinking about recording one. But post also doesn't normally take 6 months to a year. Normally you can get post-production done in a couple months. So I'm hoping to be able to get back in front of a camera, sort of like 9 months, 10 months from now will be great. I don't know where I'm going to film it. I don't know where I'm gonna shoot it. I don't know. I like shooting in Vancouver. I think it's a great place to shoot, but I'd also like to do it somewhere else. Find a different crowd. Maybe the States. Maybe we'll start going down there again now that. And if you're listening to this in the States or you're watching this in the States, I do want to come down there and do some shows. I've been talking to some clubs and some venues but it's there's a lot of paperwork issues involved in Canadian comedians working in the United States, and so there's paperwork issues, and there's just scheduling, and it's I literally don't have any time now until October anyway. So my schedule's a fucking nightmare. Look at me all busy. That's coffee with butter in it. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. I used to drink that a lot when I was on the ketosis. And all I really did was get me to eat less sugar, which I probably shouldn't be eating. This trip has been bad for that. I've been just eating like a fucking idiot. Like I really have. Just like, and then also hanging out with the kid. It's hot. You go for ice cream, and I'm like, what am I doing? I got to stop doing that shit to myself because you take care of yourself, but get some exercise. I know, also, you're not getting much exercise because you're in the car the whole time. It is nice traveling with other people in the car, though. I don't normally do that. Normally I'm by myself, and you go a little stir crazy, as evidenced by some of the podcasts I put out, particularly towards the end of my long runs on the road. But I'm getting a little less crazy these days. I'm still crazy enough, right? I'm still erasing all text messages and fucking tying my shoes a certain way. I'm still nuts. I'm just productive nuts. Productive nuts sounds like a snack they used to give out in communist Russia. Try productive nuts. Will make you work much harder for state. Yeah, I don't want to talk about anything particularly heavy this podcast because I just don't feel the need to. I mean this. Yeah, I don't know. I was literally saying I don't want to talk about anything heavy, and I was just about to get into something about that police footage and stuff. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I can't. I'm trying to give myself a little bit of headspace away from driving myself bananas with the doom scrolling and the misery, because there's so much. The problem is too is sad stories, stories that make you angry sell tickets proverbially, and so it's out there. It's all over the place, and it's really hard not to get involved. And as a comedian, particularly, you feel for some reason some sort of arrogant, self-centered reason that you must have to comment on everything, which you don't have to do, but I can't help myself, right? That is my job, is to be a fucking idiot or a wise ass or make jokes. And that's the kind of stuff that often helps me go down a tangent to find something funny. But it has been a bit. Maybe that's one of the reasons I'm having a hard time finding my feet on the second half of the hour. Maybe because I'm trying to protect my mental health a little bit. Idiot. I did, however, buy myself a bottle of bourbon for traveling. Of course, not when I'm driving, but for being in a room for after the shows and stuff. And yeah, we actually stayed. I stayed on an Airbnb when we were in Summerland. We stayed in an Airbnb, which was like this little. It was like on a farm, and they had farm fresh eggs that they would put in the Airbnb for you, and it was this beautiful. It was this beautiful farm. It was like you're just sitting there. It was quiet. It was out in the country. It was a good 10-minute drive to town, 15 minutes. But then of course town's not that big, so it was really we're just sitting there, and there's geese and ducks and horse. Every so often you hear a horse, and then on the mountainside, you could see from the porch when you're sitting out there. There was I guess a vintage steam train, like a tourist attraction, but it would go by twice a day. So you'd just be sitting there having a cup of coffee, writing something on your computer or whatever, and you just hear just come. It was really cool. And it was there's got the blue sky behind it. It was that's fucking picturesque. I felt like it was in a movie. One of those things where you're just this doesn't seem real. This seems fake. It was a really nice place. It was really nice to just get that little unplug, it was so quiet because I'm so used to cities and everything, a constant noise, buzzing, and it was really quiet. It was just really kind of peaceful, and you just kind of sit there at night, and they had a little fireplace in there too. It was really nice. It was lovely to kind of just. It makes me really want to unplug, get out. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm I don't know if I want to live in cities anymore. I mean, when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was live in a city. I just wanted to be around whatever's happening. I just felt like I wasn't involved in something. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. Anytime anything was happening, I felt like it was happening without me, and I just wanted to get involved. But now, I think I feel like I'm at the point where I'm maybe it's just time to back off. And maybe that's being in my 40s. Maybe it's just because of the kind of job I do, I'm just exhausted with it. Maybe it's just fucking traffic and everything else that you have to deal with. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something that makes me want to kind of disconnect. And it seems to be getting louder. Normally I can kind of swallow that rumble down and ignore it, and it goes away after a while. But it's not going away now. And I start to feel like maybe that's the way Doug Stanhope does it. Maybe that's the thing to do. Just move in a town away from the industry and go to the industry when you need it or when they need you, which for me it would never. I would just get a chance to hang out and be by myself or be with the family and just be quiet and just be away from things. Maybe I'll take up painting or something like that, something that no one can really tell me I suck at because no one can tell whether it's my vision or not. So it's that gray area of he might be good at it, but I don't think he is. But we can't say anything because he's supplying the booze. I'm probably going to wrap up the podcast here because I've actually got to go to a show. I was going to say that what I'm doing on my TikTok now is I'm trying to go live on it before I do shows for a little bit, just to say hello to everybody. So if you're on TikTok, follow me over at This Is Simon King, and come say hello. And it's basically just this, but the difference being is it's TikTok, and there's little hearts that pop up in the corner. Whatever the fuck. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. These self-propelled episodes are a little bit shorter, obviously, because, in this particular case, I have to get the fuck out of here. And quite frankly, I'm tired of the sound of my own voice. I never used to hear it through headphones before. It's a lot. I don't know how Mikey does it. But I will be back with some guests. I will give you an extra Patreon episode for July because we were one short. And I do appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate and review the podcast and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It really does help getting those numbers up. If you just throw a 5-star review on there or something like that, it really does help. And send me a letter at www.skpodcast@gmail.com. www.skpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Unfamous or on Instagram at This Is Simon King and on TikTok at This Is Simon King. And at the end of this video, you can watch a comedy special that I did. If you haven't already seen it, I think you might like it. And I'm by myself, but that's what's wrong this week.